Caleb remained oblivious to Leo's inner turmoil. He was just relieved to hear that Leo had only lost his phone, not himself, and after a brief confirmation that all was well, he let the conversation die. He lingered for a moment, the phone in his hand feeling unnervingly quiet, then changed clothes and headed out to retrieve Joker from doggy daycare. The corporate summit had been a surprising success, at least in terms of loot. Between his team's victory in the coding challenge, some lucky raffle numbers, and a few pity prizes from colleagues who saw his demolished phone screen, he'd amassed a small pile of vouchers. True to form, Caleb cashed them all in for company-branded gear and gadgets, shipping the whole lot from the mail center in the lobby. He imagined Leo unboxing it all, that quiet, serious expression of his breaking into confusion and then maybe a small, pleased smile. On a whim, he added a large bag of saltwater taffy, a souvenir from a coworker's recent family trip to the Jersey Shore. For several days, Leo had barely heard from Caleb, and any texts they did exchange were brief, clipped exchanges that ended almost as soon as they began. So when a string of delivery notifications lit up his phone, he was confused. He racked his brain, but apart from a couple pairs of long underwear he'd ordered for the coming winter, he hadn't bought anything. At the campus mailroom, he found not his long johns, but a pile of boxes all shipped from Chicago. There were 5 in total, one so enormous he had to use both arms to hoist it. The mailroom clerk helped him stack them by the door. Leaning against the wall, Leo sent Caleb a text, asking if he'd entered the wrong address by mistake and offering to ship them back. It was the middle of the workday for Caleb, so Leo waited. 10 minutes passed with no reply. He didn't dare take the packages, feeling they weren't truly his, so he just stood there, hands jammed in his pockets. He guessed they might be things Caleb had bought for the dog, but then he remembered the sender's name was Caleb himself, which made a shipping error seem unlikely. Caleb's reply finally came through, a single word telling him it was no mistake and asking if he'd gotten them inside yet. Leo quickly texted back that he hadn't, mentioning there were 5 boxes. Caleb told him to take them. Leo was baffled, asking if Caleb had really sent them all to him, wondering what on earth could be inside. Caleb explained they were things he'd gotten from a work event. Leo protested that it was far too much. Caleb assured him they were just cheap trinkets, telling him to think of it as opening a bunch of mystery boxes. Leo knew Caleb's definition of cheap was likely very different from his own. He quickly texted back, offering to keep 1 box and send the rest back. For a long moment, Caleb said nothing. Then, a single, stark period appeared on the screen. Leo felt a jolt of anxiety. In all the time they'd been talking, Caleb had never sent him a lone period unless it was part of a joke or a meme. Caleb was an easy person to talk to, his words never leaving you hanging, the conversation never stalling. A single piece of punctuation carrying such a clear weight of emotion made Leo's stomach tighten. He stood there, rooted to the spot, debating what to do. Finally, he tentatively typed out Caleb's name with a question mark. In response, Caleb sent an address. Name, street, city, zip, phone number. Everything. Cold and complete. A wave of misery washed over Leo. He already had Caleb's address, saved in his Amazon account from when he'd bought toys and treats for Joker. Back then, when he'd asked for it, Caleb had given it freely, without a second thought. Leo had carefully added it to his address book, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction seeing their 2 addresses listed side by side. But receiving it again like this was different. It was a clear sign that Caleb was angry, and the feeling it gave him was worlds away from the quiet joy he'd felt the first time. He wished he could ask Toby for advice, but for someone with his level of social anxiety, the situation felt impossibly complex. He hauled the boxes back to his dorm. Inside, he opened them one by one, the feeling of a mystery box unboxing now tinged with dread. There was saltwater taffy, an Amazon Echo Dot, a Bluetooth keyboard, a bottle of men's face wash, and, from the largest box, a thick down comforter. His roommate came in, saw the cardboard carnage on the floor, and let out a low whistle, asking if he'd gone on a major shopping spree. Leo gathered the empty boxes, explaining that they were a gift from a friend. His roommate chuckled, commenting on what kind of friend sends so much stuff and that anyone who didn't know better would think Leo had a boyfriend. Leo didn't have the energy to reply. He'd always been a ghost in his own dorm room, and his roommate didn't press the issue, just grabbing clothes for a shower. Leo unwrapped a piece of the taffy and chewed on it, the sweet and salty flavor doing little to calm his nerves. He picked up his phone, then put it down. He took a few pictures of the opened gifts, wanting to send them to Caleb but feeling paralyzed. This was the curse of his anxiety, the endless internal debate before any social interaction. It was the first time, however, that he'd ever felt this way with Caleb. He didn't want Caleb to be angry with him. The thought made his chest ache. From Caleb's perspective, he knew he must have seemed incredibly ungrateful. By the time his roommate was back from his shower and already in bed playing games on his phone, Leo still hadn't sent the message. He didn't know what to say, or if Caleb even wanted to hear from him. He felt like he was back in high school, awkward and invisible. Thankfully, the person on the other end was his complete opposite. A message from Caleb appeared first, asking if he was asleep. Leo, who had been staring at their blank chat window, jumped. His heart hammered as he typed back an immediate no. Caleb then asked if he was in bed. Leo replied that he was still sitting at his desk. Caleb's next message was a gentle command, telling him that it was late and he should get ready for bed. He followed it up by saying that Leo should let him know when he was settled, because there was something he wanted to say. Leo scrambled. He got ready for bed in record time, climbing into his loft and texting Caleb that he was lying down. He was filled with a nervous anticipation. What could Caleb possibly want to say? His mind raced through a dozen scenarios, but he didn't have to wonder for long. Caleb's reply was swift. He started with an apology for his attitude that afternoon. Of all the things Leo had imagined, that wasn't one of them. He quickly replied that Caleb had nothing to apologize for. Caleb disagreed, admitting that he'd lost his temper. Leo wanted to say it was his fault for being a wet blanket, but he rephrased it, asking if Caleb was still angry. He typed and deleted several versions before settling on asking if his temper had cooled down. Caleb replied that it had, adding that he hadn't been himself lately, that his head was all messed up. Leo asked what was wrong. They hadn't talked much recently, so he had no idea what was going on in Caleb's life. Caleb confessed he hadn't been entirely honest about the summit that day. He explained that he actually hated those kinds of team-building events, that the games felt awkward and childish for adults to be playing. But as one of the junior members of the team, he couldn't get out of it. Leo sent a few affirming noises. Caleb was direct, admitting that the only thing that made the whole ordeal even remotely interesting was the idea of winning some things to send to him, imagining him unboxing them. That was the one thought that had gotten him through the day. When Leo read that, he was stunned. He read it again and again, a hollow space opening up in his chest, both startling and warm. Caleb continued, explaining that was why he'd gotten so angry when Leo said he'd send the stuff back. He said he'd realized it was his own issue, that he shouldn't have taken it out on him. He told Leo not to worry about it, that if he felt it was too much, he could pick a couple of things he liked and send the rest back. He did add that the bag of taffy was specifically for him and he should keep it because it was really good. Leo's fingers moved before his brain could catch up. He sent all the pictures he'd taken earlier, his mind still reeling from Caleb's confession. He typed out a flurry of messages, saying he'd unboxed everything, that the taffy was delicious. He told him he'd already used the face wash and that he'd use the thick comforter when the weather got colder. He ended with a thank you to Caleb. Looking at the photos of the chaotic mess of boxes and packaging, Caleb could picture Leo, anxiously and meticulously opening each item, not daring to talk to him. He was the kind of earnest, straight-arrow kid who panicked at the slightest sign of disapproval. Leo's explanations were laced with an eager-to-please quality that made Caleb's brow furrow slightly. In the past, whenever Leo said something so painfully sincere, Caleb had found it endearing. This time, the emotion was stronger, and it made him feel a pang of something akin to heartache. He told Leo to get some sleep and not to think about it, admitting he'd been acting crazy that day. Leo replied that it was his own fault for not knowing what to say. Caleb assured him that wasn't true and promised to give him a heads up next time he sent anything. That night, Leo did sleep well, though he spent a long time rereading Caleb's messages before drifting off. It was Caleb who lay awake for hours. He felt like typing on a screen hadn't conveyed his meaning properly. His tone had still been too harsh, not natural enough. He wondered if the socially anxious kid on the other end was freaking out. Lately, Caleb had been consciously trying to break his habit of talking to Leo every day. He believed that only by breaking the routine could he truly understand where all these emotions were coming from. But while the empty feeling from his lost phone could be blamed on habit, the flare of anger from that afternoon and the subsequent ache in his chest had nothing to do with it. The next morning, Leo woke up still feeling a little unsettled by what Caleb had said. Part of him felt he didn't deserve it, while another part felt a flutter of excitement. But he only allowed himself to dwell on it for a moment. Once he was out of bed, life returned to normal. Getting dressed, washing up, heading to class. Caleb texted to say he was on his way to work, and Leo replied with a supportive emoji. For the rest of the day, Leo didn't initiate a single message. At lunch, Caleb sent him a picture of his food. Leo sent one back, his tray clearly opposite another. Caleb asked if he was eating with his senior TA. Leo confirmed it was him, the one with the initials S.K. Caleb acknowledged it with a simple okay. Leo explained that both of the senior TAs were planning on staying at the university for their doctorates, so they were around a lot. He'd been helping them with their research for over a year, gradually becoming a familiar presence in the department office. Lately, they had started inviting him to lunch. He was still quiet in the office, but he was reliable. Since the professor hadn't taken on any new master's students this year, Leo was still the junior member of the group, and the TAs had started trying to draw him out more. The female TA had noticed Leo's almost naive sincerity and enjoyed teasing him. That morning, Leo had pocketed a few pieces of the saltwater taffy. He'd eat one whenever he felt like it during the day, each piece reminding him of Caleb's words about playing those games just to send him something. He savored them. The female TA, sitting nearby, caught the sweet scent and asked what he was eating. Leo, whose jacket was draped over his chair, reached into his pocket and gave her one. A little later, she declared it was delicious and just the thing for a boring afternoon. The male TA came over and simply reached into Leo's jacket pocket, helping himself to a piece. A moment later, the female TA took the rest. All Leo could do was pull a pack of bubblegum from his other pocket, something he'd gotten as a freebie, and blow bubbles while they finished his taffy. As the weather grew colder, Leo bought 2 new sweaters for Joker online and had them sent to Caleb. Before taking the dog for a walk, Caleb dressed him in one and sent a picture to Leo, captioning it that from the back. Joker looked like a handsome, stylish dog, but one look at his face was a jump scare. Leo protested that he wasn't that ugly. Caleb described how he'd woken up that morning to find the dog staring at him, its fur a mess, and had been so startled he'd immediately rolled over. He joked that Leo really needed to witness the dog's morning appearance in person. Leo laughed and agreed, though he knew he probably wouldn't get the chance. Even if Caleb came back for the holidays, he wouldn't bring the dog. In reality, Joker wasn't that bad-looking, just a standard mutt. It was the long fur around his eyes and mouth that made him look perpetually disheveled. With a good grooming, he'd be perfectly fine. But Caleb had grown up with a border collie and his friend had a Samoyed. So for him, fluffy little animals were supposed to be perfectly coiffed, with sleek fur and a toy-like appearance. By his own high standards, Joker was a mess of mismatched fur and color. Leo always found it funny when Caleb complained about the dog, because while his words were harsh, his actions were always indulgent. A few days later, Chloe, the woman from the setup, sent Caleb a message with a picture of her friend's dog. It was wearing a small beret and seemed to be smiling for the camera. She commented on how much it looked like his little dog. Caleb agreed that the resemblance was uncanny. He forwarded the picture to Leo, who asked whose dog it was, remarking that it looked just like Joker. Caleb explained the convoluted connection through his dad's classmate's kid's friend. Leo pieced it together and realized it was the dog from the story Caleb had told him before. He then asked how things were going between them. Caleb was confused, asking who he meant. Leo, with oblivious innocence, replied he was talking about the girl he'd been set up with, even adding a casual duh at the end of his sentence. Caleb said that nothing was going on, that they weren't in touch. When Leo asked why, Caleb paused before telling him there was no reason and not to ask. Seeing Caleb's response, Leo worried he'd overstepped and quickly agreed. The conversation stopped there. Leo fretted, making a mental note to avoid relationship topics in the future. They were too sensitive and he clearly didn't have the tact for them. About 10 minutes later, Caleb sent another message, clarifying that he hadn't really meant for him to stop asking, that it was a joke and he hoped Leo hadn't misunderstood. Leo replied that he hadn't, but that he really shouldn't have asked. Reading that, Caleb knew he definitely had misunderstood. He was discovering more and more that texting was a terrible medium for conveying emotion. A message sent in jest could land with the force of a command. Before Caleb could reply, Leo, after much deliberation, sent an explanation. He told Caleb he had no intention of prying into his personal life, that it had just been a casual question that came up in conversation. He was being so formal and serious about it. If time could be reversed, Caleb would have taken back his "don't ask" comment in a heartbeat. He assured Leo it was fine and told him not to overthink it, that he could ask whatever he wanted. He added that if he wanted to date someone, he didn't need anyone to set him up. He was perfectly capable of finding someone on his own. He might even be dating someone in a few days, for all he knew. Leo replied with a surprised "oh." Caleb was just talking nonsense, but Leo seemed to believe him. Caleb smiled and texted back, "You're so gullible." Caleb had been deliberately reducing his contact with Leo, trying to get a handle on his feelings. Conveniently, his friend Julian had been texting him a lot lately, missing home. Caleb redirected a lot of the things he wanted to say to Leo to Julian instead. They had been close since high school, and Julian was like a goofy younger brother, constantly spamming him with texts. While walking Joker, Caleb snapped a picture of the dog and sent it to Julian, who replied that the dog was hideous. Caleb texted back that he agreed, but hearing Julian say it still made him want to curse him out. Julian said he should have told him he wanted a dog earlier, that he could have gotten him a husky. Caleb retorted that he might as well get another Julian to annoy him to death. Julian offered to buy him a French bulldog. Caleb shot back that Frenchies were no better looking than Joker. Julian argued that at least they were ugly in a standardized way, asking what on earth Joker was supposed to be. Caleb told him to get lost and go play his video games. After 5 messages, he was already tired of talking to Julian. He put his phone away and watched Joker, who was wearing the stylish little hoodie Leo had bought him, sniff around. The short exchange had done nothing to quell his impulse. He still wanted to take a picture for Leo. Ever since the day he felt he'd said the wrong thing, Leo had become even more hesitant to message Caleb. His life was busy anyway, between classes, tutoring, a part-time teaching gig, and helping out in the department office. Caleb figured Leo probably didn't even have time to think about texting him. Another 10 days passed without a single message between them. At first, Caleb was trying to break the habit, to confirm his feelings. But then, he realized that if he didn't text first, he received nothing. A stubborn streak took over. He wanted to see how long it would take for Leo to reach out. Especially since, during that time, Leo posted on his Instagram story twice. Once with Toby, eating burritos and using forks because they found it too messy, and another time out for pizza with his grad school cohort. His life seemed to be going on just fine. It appeared that whether or not he was in contact with Caleb made no difference to him at all. Caleb thought grimly that it was a good thing. If everyone who had a crush was like Leo, there would be no more unrequited love in the world. Leo's affection had always been a passive thing. Apart from that one drunken confession on a snowy night years ago, he had always waited for Caleb to come to him. When Caleb stopped, he simply reverted to his old life. This time was no different. When Leo's monthly paycheck hit his account, he saw the deposit notification from his bank. He considered screenshotting it for Toby, but then remembered the text would include his account number, so he just copied the two main deposit amounts and sent them over. Toby's voice note came back, asking what this was, and was he offering to buy him dinner again? Leo replied that he was a genius. Toby praised him, and Leo, in a follow-up voice note, bragged that the kids he tutored had all improved their grades and their parents had offered him a raise. He then added with a dramatic sigh that he had, of course, righteously refused it. His savings had grown considerably over the past year. He was now able to save more than half of his monthly income, squirreling it away for when he graduated and got a job. He wanted to rent a studio apartment by himself, not live with roommates, and he knew a year's rent up front would be a hefty sum. The numbers in his bank account gave him a sense of security. After chatting with Toby, Leo browsed Amazon for a while, adding a bunch of dog stuff to his cart. But when he got to the checkout page, he hesitated and ultimately he cleared the cart. Caleb hadn't been in touch, and he didn't dare send anything unannounced. In the past, whenever they fell out of contact, Leo could quickly revert to his former state, retreating to a safe distance, content to quietly hold on to his small feelings. But this time, something was different. He couldn't fully reset. He found himself unconsciously checking his phone, a persistent flicker of hope in his chest. He reasoned it was probably because they had been talking so much more. Caleb had stepped down from the pedestal he'd built for him and become a real, living person. Once someone becomes that real, it's much harder to let them go. He thought with a mix of frustration and resignation that maybe it's true that you can't have too many good things. Caleb was on another business trip for a week. He was swamped with work, but the issue with Leo was never far from his mind. Late at night, before sleep, it was the one thing that circled endlessly in his thoughts. The owner of the doggy daycare sent him a picture of Joker looking miserable in his kennel. The trip was a bit longer this time, and as soon as Caleb got back, his first stop was to pick him up. Joker always went crazy when he was picked up after being boarded, and this time was no exception, a whirlwind of yelps, jumps, and spins. Caleb laughed and scooped him up, telling him to be more dignified. The dog just whimpered and whined, nuzzling against him. That night, back in his apartment, Caleb recorded a short video of Joker trying to climb onto the bed and sent it to Leo. His expression was blank as he hit send, as if it were a chore. Leo was dozing at his desk. The dorm was quiet, his roommate out. He had finished prepping for the next day's class but hadn't felt like climbing into bed. He was resting his head on his arms when he suddenly craved a piece of saltwater taffy, but he'd already brushed his teeth. His phone vibrated. He picked it up and saw it was a video from Caleb. He sat up straight, surprised, and played it. Immediately after, a text came through. Caleb asked him if he was really never going to message him first, then said he had a question. Leo quickly typed back for him to go ahead. Caleb didn't waste any time. He asked if this crush of his was a real thing or just something he said for show. Leo sat bolt upright, staring at the words, too flustered to reply. Caleb sent another message, pressing him for an answer. Leo was so panicked that his fingers fumbled, sending a single letter by accident. He quickly followed up with a correction, saying it was real, and asking what was wrong. Caleb's reply came quickly, yeah, right? Leo was even more lost and confused. He couldn't understand why, after so long without contact, Caleb would suddenly bring this up. Was he trying to hint at something? Caleb had no idea that his few short sentences had sent Leo's mind into a tailspin, tying itself in knots. Leo couldn't figure it out. The most likely explanation, he concluded, was that Caleb was starting to date someone and was him to back off. He remembered how cagey Caleb had been about his personal life before, and his comment about maybe dating someone soon. The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. He had no idea how to respond. He didn't dare ask, didn't dare say the wrong thing. He agonized over it for a long, long time, and ultimately left the message unanswered. The more he mulled it over, the more certain he became. Caleb's recent behavior did seem like that of someone in a new relationship. Once he accepted that premise, everything seemed to confirm it. The next morning, during his risk management lecture, even the star student found his attention wandering. He sat in the back row, staring blankly at his phone's lock screen. One moment he was wondering what kind of person Caleb would date, the next he was resolving to cut off contact completely, just like before. It was one thing when Caleb was single, but if he had a girlfriend who found out some guy had a crush on her boyfriend and they were constantly texting, the thought alone was mortifying. If he'd said he wouldn't be a bother, he couldn't say one thing and do another. He opened his chat history with Caleb and started scrolling up and up and up. He was shocked to see how much they had talked. He couldn't even reach the beginning. Their frequent contact had started last winter, after Caleb moved back to Chicago. More than half a year had passed. Looking back, it felt surreal, like a strange dream. It was as if the universe had seen how stubbornly he'd held on to this crush and decided to grant him a small favor, letting him talk to Caleb for a while. The thought made him smile wryly. If that was the case, then he should be grateful. It had been a really good 6 months. Caleb had spent the time breaking his habit. He was no longer constantly reaching for his phone to message someone. He had returned to his old rhythm, where work came first and his phone was often an afterthought. It hadn't taken long to break the routine, and now he was certain that his desire to talk to Leo wasn't just a habit. Even when he no longer instinctively reached for his phone, he still found himself thinking of things he wanted to tell him. There was nothing left to be uncertain about. Almost every day, he would recall the way Leo looked at him. Whether it was on that winter night when Leo told him to stay steady and not get discouraged, or during the summer when they had dinner and Leo was so visibly happy. His gaze was always focused and sincere. He looked calm, but there was a warmth to him. That afternoon, Leo was tutoring a student who kept yawning, and soon Leo was yawning too. During a short break, he scrolled through his phone and was surprised to see Caleb had posted an Instagram story, something he rarely did. It was a photo of a painting on a wall, a single eye. For a moment, it felt like 2 eyes were looking at him. He watched it calmly for a moment, then liked the story and put his phone away. But just before the break ended, he went back and unliked it. If Leo's suspicions had been just guesses before, Caleb's actions now seemed to make it obvious. He was definitely dating someone. Leo slid his phone under his textbook and called the student back to continue the lesson. Caleb had gone downstairs to pick up a document and grab a coffee for a colleague. While waiting for the order, he had casually snapped a picture of the painting on the cafe wall. He noticed Leo's like appear and then disappear. Among the dozens of replies to his story, he only responded to one from Toby, who had clearly gone to some effort to type it out. Toby had written, "Dude, something's up with you." When Toby and Leo met up later, he excitedly gossiped that he thought Caleb was dating someone. Leo nodded and said that was a good thing. Toby was genuinely happy. Caleb had looked out for him when they were younger. They'd been classmates since middle school. Toby considered Caleb one of his own. He'd always wondered why such a great, handsome guy had been single for so long. As he expertly twirled pasta onto his fork, he chattered on, telling Leo to describe Caleb's girlfriend to him whenever he posted a picture. Leo sat across from him, watching Toby's unabashed delight, and suddenly felt a profound sense of loneliness. He wasn't bitter, but he certainly couldn't share Toby's joy. He thought to himself, "You're my only real friend. Could you stop smiling? Our happiness is not the same." Leo's composure was definitely not as solid as it used to be. After all, he and Caleb had been talking for so long, and he'd been vicariously co-parenting Joker for months. In the past, every time he had to let go, there was a buffer period. It wasn't something he could do instantly. For the first couple of days, there was always a sense of loss and emptiness in his chest. If Caleb had given him a few more days of silence, he could have pushed those feelings down again and returned to his calm state. But this time, Caleb didn't give him that much time. That evening, Leo skipped dinner, grabbing a sandwich from the cafeteria on his way back to the dorm. His roommates were all there. He sat at his desk and ate quietly. He was surprised when a message from Caleb came through. It was a picture of his dinner. Caleb said he was starving. Leo blinked. Caleb was acting as if nothing was wrong, and Leo suddenly didn't know how to respond. He was halfway through his sandwich, his left hand holding it forgotten, as he numbly typed back, asking if he was working that late. Caleb replied more or less, and that he'd also taken the dog out for a quick walk. Leo didn't know how to proceed. Just a short while ago, he had resolved to stop talking to him. Now Caleb was chatting normally. On one hand, he didn't want to leave him hanging. On the other, he was constrained by his own moral code. Caleb was acting freely, but Leo felt like he was the one with a guilty secret. He never replied to that message. Later that night, when Caleb sent another message asking if he was asleep, Leo didn't reply to that either. For the next few days, Caleb would send 3 messages for every one Leo sent back, if that. At first, Caleb assumed he was just busy, but then he realized something was wrong. At lunchtime, he asked what Leo was having. The reply was a single word, burger. Caleb stared at it. Something was definitely off. Lately, Leo only answered direct questions. Previously, the same question would have been met with, a burger, what about you, Caleb? When Caleb asked who he was with, Leo would say he was with his TA. Now, the soft, warm Leo had suddenly become cold and aloof. Caleb scrolled up through their chat history and had to laugh grimly. It was true. If you didn't contact him, he wouldn't contact you. And now, if you did contact him, he didn't seem to want to talk. For the umpteenth time, Caleb thought that this was a truly unique way of having a crush. He didn't know what was going on in Leo's head, but he found this version of him strangely interesting. It made him want to poke him just to see what would happen. He sent a text with just Leo's name. Leo saw the message but didn't dare type a reply, afraid Caleb would see the typing. Indicator. He pretended to be asleep. Caleb sent another message asking if he was sleeping. Leo's phone screen stayed lit, but he couldn't bring himself to respond. 5 minutes later, another message came through. Caleb said he couldn't sleep, that his head hurt, and asked if Leo would talk to him for a bit. Seeing the word headache, Leo's resolve wavered. He waited a moment, then replied that he was just getting ready for bed, and asked what was wrong. Caleb smiled. He told him to stop pretending. He said it was nothing, just a headache. Leo asked if he had a fever. Caleb had teased him enough. He got straight to the point, asking if Leo didn't want to talk to him lately. The direct question caught Leo off guard. Before he could respond, Caleb followed up with another. Don't like me anymore? Leo's simple mind and limited experience couldn't process the situation. A tangled knot of confusion, like in a cartoon, tightened in his brain. He was too scared to make a sound. He tried to trace things back, landing on the last time he'd confessed his feelings and Caleb had dismissed it. Heart pounding, he typed back that it wasn't that he didn't like him anymore, and asked why he would ask that. Caleb then asked for the reason. Leo, lying in his bed, had no idea what Caleb was trying to get at. What kind of late-night test was this? He couldn't handle it. For him, the simplest path was always the truth. So, after giving himself a thorough pep talk, he typed that it wasn't that he didn't want to talk to him. Caleb asked what the but was. Leo replied that if he was in a relationship, he shouldn't be talking to him anymore. Caleb stared at the 2 lines of text. He recognized all the words, but they made no sense together. He asked what Leo was talking about. Leo took a deep breath and continued, telling him to focus on his relationship and be happy, and that from now on he wouldn't contact him. Caleb was truly baffled. He watched as Leo continued to talk to himself, already planning their future non-communication. He didn't text back. He just hit the call button. Leo instinctively answered. Caleb spoke first, saying his name. The dorm was full, so Leo's voice was a whisper, a noticeable tremor of anxiety in it. He asked what was wrong. Caleb asked what on earth he was talking about. After that one question, Leo went silent. He was already bad at talking, and with his roommates there, It felt as if his mouth had lost all function. Caleb waited, but there was only silence. He chuckled and asked, "What about it?" The moment he spoke, Leo unconsciously started picking at his phone case. Caleb's voice, laced with laughter, was incredibly pleasant. He asked him about the relationship he had mentioned, asking who he was supposedly dating. Leo stammered, whispering that he didn't know. Caleb sounded utterly amused, asking if Leo really thought he was dating someone and still chatting with him like this, questioning if he was that much of a scumbag. Leo blinked. His brain suddenly kicked into gear. He asked tentatively if he wasn't dating anyone. Caleb's reply was a firm no. Then he laughed and added that he didn't know, maybe soon. Leo sighed. He said that was basically the same thing. Caleb laughed and told him it wasn't. Leo, tired of the back and forth, said okay then. He was hanging up. Caleb told him to wait. Leo hummed in response. Caleb paused, then asked if he would stop liking him just because he was dating someone, asking if he didn't want him to be with someone else. This Leo answered quickly. A genuine no. Caleb pressed him, asking what he would do if he did start dating someone. Leo's answer was swift. Fine. Caleb was taken aback by his firm tone. He said he was a fine piece of work and told him to go to sleep. But even after Caleb told him to hang up, Leo remained on the line, confused. After a few moments of complete silence, it was Leo who broke it, whispering to ask if he should hang up now. Caleb laughed and agreed. A few more seconds passed before Leo ended the call. After hanging up, Leo lay there for a long time trying to make sense of the conversation. First, he couldn't understand what Caleb had been trying to say. Then, his mind drifted to the sound of Caleb's voice when he laughed over the phone. It was so nice to listen to. Realizing his thoughts were wandering, he forced himself back to the puzzle. He had expected a sleepless night, but he was asleep before his roommate finished his game. Just before drifting off, Leo thought that the Caleb from tonight was different from the Caleb he knew. He didn't know what switch had been flipped or what revelation Caleb had come to, but from that day on, things really were different. After a long period of minimal contact, Caleb suddenly started texting him frequently again. Sometimes he would even call. His tone was slightly different, too. He would often say things that left Leo at a loss for how to respond. Compared to Caleb's changes, Leo was a model of consistency. He was still half a beat behind, responding to everything with his usual earnestness. For example, one day Caleb sent him a link to a movie trailer, saying he wanted to see it. Leo replied that it was coming out soon. Caleb suggested that when he came home for break, Leo should go see it with him. Leo typed okay, then deleted it. He thought for a moment and said that Caleb would only be back for a few days and would be busy, so he should go with someone else. Caleb asked who he was supposed to go with. Leo replied, wasn't he about to start dating someone? A movie would be perfect. Caleb laughed when he saw the message, asking if he was still thinking about that. He told him to stop worrying about his love life, that he had no one to go with, so they should go together. Leo agreed. Another time, Caleb went down to walk Joker without a jacket and was shivering. He called Leo. Leo had seen how cold it was that morning and had already dug out his heavy winter coat. He was walking back to his dorm when Caleb's call came through. He answered, and Caleb's voice was chattering with cold as he asked what he was doing. Leo told him he was on his way back to the dorm and asked if he was outside. Caleb explained he was walking the dog. Leo asked if he was cold. Caleb said he wasn't wearing a jacket. He complained that the dog was taking its sweet time, sniffing everything in sight, perfectly warm in its little quilted vest while he froze. Leo laughed and asked if Caleb had bought him a vest. Caleb said it was a down vest, complaining about its gaudy colors. Leo suggested he go back up and get a jacket so he wouldn't catch a cold. Caleb grumbled that if he got sick, he'd just get rid of the dog. By now, Leo knew Caleb was all talk. He just laughed and said that if he was going to do that, he should give him a heads up so he could come pick him up. Caleb laughed and asked if he was serious, saying he'd pick a good day to abandon him then. Leo was still smiling when he hung up, But after a moment, he felt something was a little off. Caleb had been acting strangely lately. Leo's conclusion was that he must have tried to start a relationship and failed, and was now feeling a bit down. So, whenever they talked, Leo was extra agreeable, trying to offer him some emotional support. Even without the special care, Leo was already gentle enough. With the added concern, he was completely accommodating to Caleb. Caleb just found Leo soft and obedient, which made him both endearing and fun to tease. Not that teasing him was that rewarding. Leo was so slow on the uptake, or perhaps he never even considered any other interpretation. He never blushed or got flustered by anything Caleb said. At most, he would pause for a moment and then give a perfectly serious answer. But the more he was like this, the more interesting Caleb found him. He was like a block of wood that made you want to carve into it just to see what was inside. One weekend, Caleb only had Sunday off. He worked a full day Saturday. Sunday morning, he got up, threw all his clothes in the laundry, and cleaned his apartment. Leo was free after his morning class and planned to rest in his dorm before heading to the library in the afternoon. Caleb wanted to take a nap before lunch. He texted Leo, asking where he was. Leo replied that he was in his dorm and heading to the library later. Caleb asked if he could take a call. Leo said yes. The call came through. Leo was alone in his room. His roommates were all out. He sat in his chair and answered. Caleb sounded sleepy, his voice laced with a languor that was different from his usual tone. He said he was tired and wanted to nap. Leo told him to go ahead, that he must be exhausted from the day before. Caleb told him to take a nap too. Leo agreed that he would in a little while. Caleb urged him to go now. Leo thought, but I'm on the phone with you. Caleb added that he should go, just put the phone aside, that he would wait for him. Leo wanted to say he didn't have to wait, but there was something about the quiet intimacy of the moment, the sound of Caleb's drowsy voice, that made his heart flutter. He put his phone on his bed, changed into his pajamas, and climbed up. Picking up the phone, he wasn't sure if Caleb was asleep yet. He whispered his name tentatively. Caleb responded, asking if he was in bed. Leo said he was. Caleb told him to sleep. He closed his eyes, the phone pressed to his ear. He asked if Caleb had gotten up early. Leo replied that it was around 7, not too bad. He hadn't felt tired before, but now, lying down under the covers, listening to Caleb's low voice, he was starting to feel sleepy. Caleb asked if he had anything to do that afternoon, saying he would call him to wake him up if he did. Leo replied that he didn't, he was just going to the library after his nap. A typical straight-A student, Caleb thought with a smile, always studying. He told him to sleep. Leo closed his eyes but was reluctant to hang up. He quietly asked if they should hang up. Caleb said it was up to him, that if he couldn't sleep like this, they could hang up, otherwise they could just leave it on. Leo fiddled with his phone but said nothing. He didn't hang up. It was the first time they had ever slept while on a call. On a Sunday afternoon, with the gentle winter sun streaming through the window, the dorm room was warm and cozy. Leo slept for a long time, waking up close to 2. He rarely slept so long during the day. He burrowed his chin into his quilt, not wanting to get up right away. The call had ended an hour ago. He had few friends, so his social media feeds were short. He scrolled slowly until he saw a post from Caleb, made an hour ago. It just said, "Wanna be in a relationship." Leo stared at it for a long time. He didn't like it. The cozy warmth of the afternoon nap vanished. He got out of bed, changed, and went to the library. He studied straight through until 8:30 at night, skipping dinner. Caleb had texted him twice during that time. Leo replied, but his replies were brief. The warmth of their shared nap had been completely erased by that post. Waking up from that to see Caleb wanting a relationship. He thought grimly, this world is not worth it. Caleb had no idea about Leo's internal monologue. He just assumed the diligent student was lost in his books. He texted him to stop studying, asking if the library didn't close at 9. Leo replied that he was already out. Caleb asked if he was back at the dorm. Leo said he'd just left the library. Caleb asked if he'd eaten dinner. Leo said no. Caleb told him he'd just ordered him some food, and that it should arrive in about 10 minutes, which would be perfect timing for when he got back. Leo was surprised, asking if Caleb had ordered him delivery. When Caleb confirmed, a wave of warmth washed over him again, and he quickly thanked him. Caleb replied with a smiling "You're welcome." He had ordered a light meal of shrimp dumplings and a rice noodle roll, something easy to digest since it was late. As Leo sat in his dorm room eating the takeout, he was filled with self-reproach. How could he have thought the world wasn't worth it that afternoon? He was being ridiculous. So, after he finished eating, showered, and got into bed, his mindset was completely recalibrated. He took the initiative to text Caleb, asking if he was in bed and if he needed someone to chat with. In Leo's mind, Caleb was still a heartbroken guy who wanted a relationship but couldn't find one. Caleb had just finished bathing Joker. The dog had shaken water all over him, so he'd had to take a quick shower himself. He came out, changed, and saw Leo's message. He replied, of course. Joker, fluffy and energized from his bath, was rubbing against Caleb's legs, refusing to go to bed. Caleb gently nudged him with his foot, telling him to go to his own bed. The dog just panted and circled his legs. Annoyed, Caleb scooped him up and tossed him onto the bed. This only made the dog happier, and he started rolling around ecstatically. He wasn't often allowed on the bed, only right after a bath. Caleb recorded a short video and sent it to Leo, commenting on how happy and annoying the dog was. After Joker had his fun, Caleb put him back on the floor. The dog pawed at the side of the bed for a while, but Caleb was busy talking to Leo and ignored him. Eventually, Joker went to get a drink, chewed on his squeaky chicken for a few minutes, and then went to his own bed. Tomorrow was another grueling Monday. Caleb had a tough work week ahead. He texted that he didn't want to go to sleep because as soon as he woke up, it would be Monday. Leo laughed and suggested he play some games to extend the weekend. Caleb replied that he didn't feel like playing games. Leo patiently asked what he wanted to do then. Caleb replied that he wanted to be in a relationship. Leo told him to go for it then. Caleb said no one wanted to be with him, and then asked if Leo would. Leo was stunned. Huh? He replied. Caleb texted, "Let's be together." Leo, flustered and anxious, asked if Caleb had misunderstood something again. For a long time, the typing indicator appeared and disappeared on his side, but no message came through. Caleb figured he was overthinking things again, so he clarified that he was just kidding and told him not to be nervous. He was, in fact, just teasing him. He had no intention of saying anything serious right now. It felt wrong to do it over the phone from so far away. A real relationship couldn't start on a screen. This wasn't an online romance. Leo, who had been struggling with what to say, was relieved to see Caleb say he was joking. He comforted him, telling him not to be discouraged, that he would meet the best person for him. His sincere blessing made Caleb feel both amused and helpless. He replied that he wasn't that discouraged. He then asked Leo to help him analyze something. When Leo asked what, Caleb proposed a hypothetical. If one day he seriously said he wanted to be with him, would Leo be willing? Leo, ever cooperative, thought about it seriously. Then, he replied with a bewildered, "Of course not." The certainty of his response almost made Caleb choke. He asked why not. Leo replied that he had said from the beginning that he never wanted to be in a relationship with him. Caleb was silent for a moment, then pointed out that in his hypothetical it was him who wanted to be with Leo, not the other way around. Leo insisted that it didn't matter, it was the same thing. Caleb typed out, word by word, that what he was saying was that no matter who initiated it, a relationship between them was definitely not happening. Leo agreed. Caleb asked why. Leo thought about it for a long time, then replied with exasperation that the hypothetical was fundamentally flawed, so there was no point in discussing it. No matter who Caleb dated, their situation would be completely different from his. Caleb just told him to go to sleep. Leo's one-track mind didn't even consider why Caleb, who had never said anything beyond the bounds of friendship before, was now dropping these hints. He just assumed Caleb was fixated on romance because he'd been rejected. Leo himself didn't dare to think otherwise. After all these years of quietly liking Caleb, he had never once imagined a day where they would actually be together. At his desk, Caleb looked at his calendar and asked a coworker when their business trip was. His colleague replied that it was next Friday, groaning about how much he hated traveling in the winter. Caleb asked how long they'd be gone. His coworker figured at least a week, maybe more. He advised Caleb to pack enough clothes. Caleb said he would and thanked him. His coworker gave him a curious look and asked if he had plans. Caleb didn't answer, just smiled and said he wanted to go home. He had something to do at home. His coworker helped him map out the schedule, suggesting he go home this weekend since they would have to present their findings after the trip. Caleb sighed and said he had meetings this weekend too. His coworker remembered and nodded in agreement. Caleb texted Leo that he wanted to go home. Leo asked what was wrong. Caleb said it was nothing, he just missed it. Leo suggested he could go Friday night and come back Sunday, though it would be a rush. Caleb explained his schedule of meetings and business trips for the next few weeks. Leo sympathized with how busy he was and told him to wait until the holidays. Caleb couldn't go home, and Leo was busy with his studies. With Caleb's packed schedule, they had little time to talk during the day, just a few texts at lunch. They could only catch up after work. Before his flight, Caleb texted Leo that he was about to take off. Leo replied for him to let him know when he landed. As soon as the plane touched down and was still taxiing on the runway, Caleb turned on his phone and sent Leo a message that he had arrived. Leo told him to get some rest. But Caleb had to have dinner with his colleagues. He asked Leo if he'd eaten. Leo said not yet, but he would soon. If he hadn't been on this trip, Caleb would have been home this weekend. Instead, he was thousands of miles away, their connection once again limited to a phone screen. They would occasionally call, usually when Caleb was back in his hotel room after a day of training, or when he was out for a walk. Leo had made a new discovery recently. He loved listening to Caleb talk to other people while on the phone with him. For example, if someone came to talk to Caleb, he would tell Leo to hold on, then answer the other person's questions. Sometimes he wouldn't even put Leo on hold. Leo would just continue with what he was doing, his headphones still in. These moments gave him a strange, indescribable feeling of intimacy. Caleb was sharing a room with a colleague who usually went to another room to play video games with others at night. This evening, Caleb was on the phone with Leo when his roommate swiped his keycard and opened the door. Caleb looked up as his colleague peeked in and asked what he was doing. Caleb pointed to his phone, indicating he was on a call. His roommate grinned and asked how much longer he'd be. Caleb asked what was up. His roommate said they were starting a game. Caleb laughed and said he wasn't playing, that he was on the phone. His roommate came over and tried to pull him up, asking what important call could possibly be more important than their game, questioning if he had a girlfriend or something. Caleb, who had been sitting on the bed, was pulled to his feet. He told his colleague he'd be there in a minute. His roommate urged him on, saying they were a player short. Before leaving, he called out to Caleb one more time. Caleb nodded and told the person on the other end of the line, Leo, that he had heard, calling his coworker a hooligan. Leo had been laughing on his end for a while. He told Caleb he'd heard and that he should go. Caleb said he would call him back later. As he searched for his slippers, he told Leo not to go to sleep before he called. Leo agreed, then asked if there was something specific he wanted to talk about. Caleb laughed and said no. Wasn't this what they did every night? Thinking about it, it was true. They had been talking every night before bed lately. But Caleb's tone had been so natural, so matter-of-fact, that it stuck with Leo long after. The perpetually clueless Leo suddenly felt a spark, a hint of something more intimate. He wasn't sure if he was just imagining it. Caleb had been subtly working on him for a while, and it seemed like a little water was finally seeping into the block of wood. According to Caleb's original plan, This conversation had to happen in person, when he was back home. He felt that only face-to-face could he make Leo believe him. Over the phone, Leo was liable to misinterpret everything. So, Caleb had been teasing him with these half-truths, trying to give him a little time to adjust. But matters of the heart rarely go according to plan. The business trip lasted 2 full weeks. They had to give a presentation at the office that Saturday. Caleb was chosen as the representative for his department. He had spent the week networking with the instructors and managed to get copies of all their presentation slides. His colleague was impressed, saying that when he had tried the same thing his first year, he had been flatly rejected. Caleb, smiling, transferred the files to his laptop, organizing and ing them. While he worked, he sent a few texts to Leo, who only replied to a couple. By the time Caleb was finished, it was already getting dark. He called Leo, but there was no answer. About half an hour later, as Caleb was heading out to find dinner, Leo called him back. He answered, and Leo asked if he'd been trying to reach him. Caleb asked if he had been in class. Leo said no, he just hadn't heard his phone. Caleb asked if he'd eaten. Leo said he had. Caleb had become very familiar with the nuances of Leo's voice. Usually, when they talked, he sounded happy, relaxed. Sometimes, he was even audibly cheerful. Today, though the brief exchange was just a series of questions and answers, and Leo sounded mostly normal, Caleb keenly sensed a heaviness in his tone. He softened his voice and asked what was wrong, if he was having a bad day. At first, Leo was silent. Then, he asked with some surprise if it was that obvious. Caleb said it wasn't obvious, he just sounded a little different. He added with a gentle laugh that Leo probably didn't realize it, but whenever they talked on the phone, he always sounded happy. Leo let out a small "oh," genuinely unaware and a little embarrassed. The streets were quiet. Caleb was walking past a school. He stopped and sat on a low marble ledge by the school's outer wall. His long legs stretched out in front of him. School had let out, and the little street was peaceful. He sat there and quietly asked Leo what had happened. Ordinarily, Leo would never talk about his personal problems. But something about the soothing quality of Caleb's voice, or perhaps the intimacy they had built over time, made him swallow the "it's nothing" that was on the tip of his tongue. After a moment of silence, he said in a low voice that his mother had come back. Caleb asked softly if he had seen her. Leo confirmed that his aunt had called, saying she needed to see him, and asked him to come to her house. His mother was there too. He had not seen her in many years, and he was very young when she left, but he said he knew it was her the moment he saw her. Leo spoke in his usual straightforward way. Talking about himself was usually an anxiety-inducing nightmare, but telling Caleb like this, slowly, didn't feel so hard. He said she had never come back before. Caleb asked if she had remarried. Leo said she had, and that she hadn't told her new family she had a child from before. Caleb blurted out, "Then what the hell did she come back to see you for? You should have just walked out." Leo was amused by his tone and said she just wanted to see him. He said he was so surprised he just sat down and even talked to her. Caleb was exasperated, saying he was too soft. He asked if he had called her mom. Leo genuinely laughed and said of course not, that he'd only said a few words in total. Caleb was still fuming, saying he couldn't believe his aunt had actually made him go. Leo explained that his mother had brought his aunt a lot of gifts. Caleb told him, his voice laced with frustration, that the next time his aunt summoned him, he should ask what it was for first. Today had been hard for Leo. He rarely thought about his mother. From his father's death to his mother leaving, he had grown up bounced between relatives. He had never felt sorry for himself. At most, he felt a little lonely sometimes. But today, seeing his mother again, he had felt a sharp jolt in his heart, and he had recognized her instantly. In that moment, he suddenly felt that his life was very pitiful. Or rather, not that he was pitiful, but that this bond of blood, this relationship between mother and son, was pitiful. Every child who grew up like him was pitiful. He hadn't gone back to his dorm. He was at the athletic field, sitting on a bench at the top of the bleachers. The field was empty in the winter, especially as dusk fell. He sat there alone, huddled in the vast emptiness, on the phone. For some reason, he desperately wanted to talk to Caleb right now. He called his name softly. Caleb responded with a gentle hum. Leo looked out over the field and slowly began to talk. He said he was a bit superstitious, that his relatives had always said he was unlucky, that they had even had his fortune told once and was told it was just his fate. He said that he had to admit not many good things had happened to him, and that he also felt he was unlucky, that his life had always been harder than his classmates. He laughed a little as he said it. Caleb listened without interrupting. Leo continued, saying that because he was quiet and didn't play with others, he was bullied a lot in middle school. He found life meaningless, and every day was a struggle. Sitting outside now, it was starting to get really cold. He sniffled and laughed, saying that things only started to get better in high school. Caleb asked what changed in high school. Leo just smiled, not answering. He said he normally never thought about these things, but seeing his mother today had brought it all back. Caleb, unwilling to let him dwell on the negative, pressed him again, asking why high school was better. The answer was crystal clear in Leo's mind, but he couldn't say it. He just smiled, trying to be vague. But he was feeling emotional today, and Caleb wouldn't let it go. Because of me? Caleb asked directly. Since he'd asked so bluntly, and he already knew anyway, Leo answered just as frankly. Yes. Caleb asked what he had possibly done to make such an impact. Leo, feeling as if he'd had a drink, spoke without much hesitation. He said it was so many things. A teenager's crush doesn't need many reasons, but for Leo, every small act had been a footprint, stamping itself deeper and deeper into his heart. He recounted a few incidents that Caleb might remember. He said that during that time, he suddenly felt that life was good, completely different from before. He felt he could become a better person, more optimistic, more cheerful. He finished with a smile just like you. On the other end of the line, Caleb had been listening, uncharacteristically quiet. Usually, he would be teasing Leo, but now he just listened, making small noises of encouragement. The things Leo was recalling like precious treasures were all insignificant little things to Caleb. And because of those things, Leo had held him in his heart for so many years. "You like me that much?" Caleb asked. Now that the conversation had come this far, there was nothing for Leo to hide. He simply said yes. Caleb asked him how much. Leo thought for a moment, then laughed and said that he used to hear his roommates talking about video games, buying equipment, weapons, even clothes and houses for their characters. He said he once had a dream that Caleb was a character in a game, but he didn't know how to play it, and he woke up in a panic. After he woke up, he thought that if Caleb were really in a game, he would buy him all the best things, the most expensive things, nothing less than perfect. He paused, then laughed again, adding that he didn't have that kind of money, though. This was the first time since that winter confession that Leo had spoken so openly about his feelings. He was usually too afraid to bring it up, afraid of crossing a line, of making Caleb feel burdened. But today, he didn't know why. Maybe because he trusted Caleb not to feel awkward, or maybe because the emotional turmoil of the day needed an outlet. He spoke with a candid sincerity. Anyone listening to those earnest words would have been deeply moved. "I've been wanting to say something to you for a while now," Caleb said after a long silence. "But I was afraid you wouldn't believe me, and saying it over the phone feels unofficial. I was planning to wait until I got home, but the trip got in the way, and now I don't know when I'll be back." Leo's smile from his last confession hadn't faded yet. He just hummed in response. "But today I really need to say it. Right now," Caleb said. "Go ahead," Leo replied, still relaxed. "I'm serious. I'm not kidding." Caleb's voice was completely serious, nothing like his usual playful tone. And then, with no at all, Leo heard the words that he couldn't believe. "Be with me, Leo. Be my boyfriend." The only response Leo could manage was a shocked, "Huh?" His first thought was that Caleb was joking, but his tone was so serious. And Caleb wasn't the type to joke about something like this. "Why?" Leo asked, genuinely confused, his words stumbling out. Caleb's answer was straightforward. "I like you." "Impossible," Leo said, his voice firm, his brow furrowed. "Why would you like me?" "Then why do you like me?" Caleb countered. "That's different," Leo insisted. "Couldn't be more different." Hearing his tone, Caleb knew this was going to be difficult. He asked if it was because of what he had just said. Leo almost wanted to laugh. The whole thing felt so surreal. "You don't have to do this, Caleb." "I was afraid you'd think that," Caleb said with a sigh. "You're doing exactly what I thought you'd do." Leo couldn't wrap his head around it. He still felt completely disconnected from what Caleb was saying. His overwhelming feeling was just, why? He wasn't even nervous. Caleb continued, "Look, if we're talking about dating, I've dated before. Middle school doesn't count, but in college I had a girlfriend. But if you're asking about experience, I don't really have much. I don't know how other people start things." He had one hand in his jacket pocket, and for once, he seemed at a loss for words. "If you're asking if I've liked you from the very beginning, in the same way you like me, then the answer is no." He laughed a little. "I wasn't lying when I said I was straight. I really was." Leo was still in a daze just listening to him talk. "Could be because we talk every day and I've gotten used to it. Or maybe it's just so comfortable talking to you. You make me feel like you're always there, always watching me. Not with your eyes, but do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm always being held. And I can't forget the way you looked at me. Back when I was still a straight guy," he said with a laugh, "before I asked you about it over the holiday. Every time I thought of that look, I would get this strange feeling in my chest. I just had to ask you why you were looking at me like that. For a while, I thought about it almost every day." Leo was starting to process it now. His expression shifted from confusion to astonishment. What Caleb was saying was true. The beginning of all of this was that look. It wasn't that Caleb had never been liked before or never been confessed to, but every other time he had been prepared. He knew what was coming and he had his answer ready. But with Leo, it had been completely unexpected. He had no defenses up. Leo's calm, accepting gaze had hit him directly. Being looked at by those eyes, even before Leo had said a word, Caleb had felt, with an overwhelming certainty, that he was being loved. "The feeling you give me is different," Caleb said. "I've never felt it with anyone else. You make me feel relaxed. And it's a different kind of relaxation than when I'm with Julian or the guys. I feel like life has become lighter." Leo was dumbfounded. Every word Caleb said felt unbelievable, impossible. But Caleb was being completely sincere. "I really shouldn't be saying this now," Caleb admitted. "I wanted to tell you in person. Maybe if you were looking at me, you would actually believe I'm not just messing with you." He paused, his tone shifting. "But what you said today, it really pissed me off. That you just sat there and talked to her. You're such a pushover. Such a pathetic, pushover guy who says that his life got better because of me." He took a breath. "And that's why I felt like I absolutely had to say something today. Caleb." Leo's voice was small. He was completely overwhelmed. "Yeah." Leo's brow was slightly furrowed. He said in a low voice, "You shouldn't like me." Caleb almost laughed in frustration. "Then what should I do? Find a girlfriend? Is it illegal for me to like you?" Leo didn't say anything. Caleb asked again, "Will you be my boyfriend?" Leo didn't answer. After a long moment, he just said Caleb's name again. Caleb sighed. "Fine. I don't blame you for being confused. Anyone would be. Something you never dared to dream of is suddenly right in front of you. You don't even dare to look at it, let alone touch it." His voice softened. "So think about it. I was being hasty. Just follow your heart. You don't have to have an answer before I get home. Whenever you figure it out, just tell me. And if you can't figure it out, that's fine too. Whatever you're thinking, just tell me. It's okay." Leo, who had been so talkative before, was now speechless. This gentle version of Caleb made his heart feel like it was being squeezed. In a moment that should have been thrilling, exciting, he felt a pang of sadness. Caleb's impulsive confession ended without a resolution. He had been sitting outside in the cold for over an hour. In the end, he didn't even eat dinner. When he got back to the hotel, his roommate was there and asked what he'd eaten. Caleb said he forgot. His roommate laughed, asking what he had been doing then. Caleb smiled and said he was on a phone call. His colleague glanced outside at the dark sky and shook his head. Caleb took off his jacket, tidied up a bit, and sat down. He texted Leo, asking if he was back at his dorm. Leo replied that he was. Caleb told him not to stress, to just get a good night's sleep. Leo agreed. Caleb then sent another smiling message, telling him to let him know if he figured it out sooner. Leo agreed again. Because of this, Caleb didn't contact Leo for the next 2 days. He didn't want to pressure him. Even though he knew how much Leo liked him, Leo had also said more than once that he didn't want to be in a relationship with him. Liking someone and being with them were two different things. And, as usual, Leo didn't contact him. Caleb finished preparing all the materials for his presentation back at the office. He would glance at his phone from time to time. No messages, no calls. His roommate teased him, asking why he wasn't on the phone anymore. If they were having a fight. Caleb laughed it off, saying they were busy. His colleague pointed at his phone with his chin, reminding him how he was always on it before. Caleb just pretended to be busy with his work, muttering about how corporate drones didn't have time for calls. His colleague laughed at his act, saying he was probably fighting with the person he'd been on the phone with for so long the other night. Caleb just pushed him away playfully, telling him he was working. For the 2 days that Leo didn't contact him, Caleb appeared calm, but inside, he had a sinking feeling that this was not going to end well. The main problem was that his and Leo's minds just didn't seem to be on the same wavelength. He was afraid that after their call, Leo would overthink it and come to the wrong conclusion. Leo was a stubborn person. The fact that he could quietly like someone for so many years proved that once he made up his mind about something, it was hard to change it. If he decided that Caleb shouldn't like him, that he should find a girlfriend and live a good life, it would be very difficult for Caleb to convince him otherwise. However, just before Caleb's flight was scheduled to take off, a message from Leo came through. He asked if Caleb's flight was today. Caleb started to type yes, boarding now, but then deleted it. He sent a voice message instead, his voice tinged with a slight smile, saying he was at the airport. Leo replied for him to let him know when he landed. A few minutes later, another message from Leo appeared. Caleb, I've thought about it. Caleb immediately replied, and the answer is? He added that he was a little nervous. But Leo never replied. He waited until he had to switch his phone to airplane mode. On the flight back, his colleague was watching a movie he'd downloaded. Caleb wore an eye mask but didn't sleep much. He couldn't get comfortable, his legs felt cramped. And besides, he couldn't sleep anyway. Leo had said he'd thought about it but then went silent. If he was going to say yes, it wouldn't be that hard to say. Only a rejection would require so much hesitation, so much careful phrasing. With Leo's personality, every word would have to be weighed and considered before he could send a refusal, probably with a lengthy explanation. It was 90% certain that he was going to be rejected. As soon as the plane landed, Caleb turned off airplane mode. He waited. Other messages came through, but still nothing from Leo. He texted him that he'd landed. Leo replied surprisingly quickly with an okay. Caleb had to laugh. The fact that he replied to this but not the earlier message was telling. He must have been agonizing over it for the past 2 days. Caleb didn't press him. He would wait for him to say it himself. A few of his colleagues wanted to grab dinner before heading home, but Caleb wasn't in the mood. He said he had to go pick up his dog and went home first. But he didn't go to get the dog right away. He needed to tidy up his apartment first. Otherwise, the moment he brought Joker back, the dog would go crazy and he wouldn't be able to get anything done. He took a shower, put 2 loads of laundry in, and set his coat and shoes aside to be taken to the dry cleaners tomorrow. He picked up a package from the lobby and then wiped down the floors. He was really just killing time. He knew that even if Leo rejected him, they would still have to talk about it when he came home for the holidays. But still, there was a sense of disappointment. This was going to be a long road. His phone rang as he was about to head out to get the dog. He was surprised to see it was Leo. He rarely called, usually preferring to text. He answered. Leo's voice was a little uncertain as he asked where he was. Caleb said he was at home and asked what was up. The other end of the line was quiet. Leo asked if what he had said the other day, about wanting to be with him, was still true. Caleb laughed and asked if he was about to reject him. Leo sounded a little nervous as he asked if he still meant it. Caleb's answer was firm. He told him he was serious. Then Leo, after clearing his throat, asked if he was free to come out, if they could meet. Caleb immediately agreed, regardless of what Leo wanted to say. He quickly ran through his schedule and asked if tomorrow night was okay, or the day after at the latest. He told him to stay on campus and he would come to him. You don't have to, Leo said. I'm in Chicago. 7 minutes later, Caleb saw him. Leo was carrying a backpack and walking down the street from the corner, looking at his phone for directions, then at the street signs. Caleb had run out to meet him, and he was a little out of breath. When Leo looked up and saw him, he was startled for a moment, and then a wide smile spread across his face. It was the same smile from when they had met that summer. Even now, with Leo standing right in front of him, smiling, it didn't feel real. Caleb was breathing hard as he asked how he got there. Leo said he took the train. He slipped one strap of his backpack off his shoulder, unzipped it, and started carefully taking something out. He fumbled for a moment while Caleb just watched him. Then, from the backpack, he pulled out a small bouquet of flowers. I wasn't lying, he said, his voice unsteady with nerves. Every time I said I didn't want to be with you, I wasn't lying. I really never thought about it. When you said you liked me, that you wanted to be with me, I was terrified. You should be with someone better, have a better life. He was still fussing with the wrapping paper on the flowers, trying to smooth it out, probably as a way to calm his nerves. But when you put this gift in front of me, this gift I didn't dare to want. I still wanted it. He looked up into Caleb's eyes. I'll work harder. I can be a better person. I want to try. Caleb said nothing. He just looked at him, deeply. Leo finally managed to smooth out the wrapping paper and arrange the petals. There were 9 red roses, nothing else, wrapped in simple black paper. It was intense, direct, and clean. For you, Leo said, holding the small bouquet out to him. Caleb's hand touched his. It was ice cold. You said you didn't want to start things over the phone, Leo said, looking at Caleb and smiling faintly. He was nervous, but he tried to sound calm. So let's start from here. I'll be with you. I'll be your boyfriend. I can be good to you. Caleb held the flowers Leo had pressed into his hand. It was a small bouquet, but it was wrapped so carefully, so securely, even the stems were covered. It was just like everything else Leo did, with that same serious, meticulous attention to detail. After he finished speaking, Leo couldn't hide his nervousness anymore. His chest was rising and falling rapidly, his breathing fast even through his coat. He watched Caleb's face, trying to read his expression. But Caleb still said nothing. He just stared at Leo for a few seconds, then switched the flowers to his other hand, and took Leo's. The moment their hands connected, Leo felt a jolt run through him. A space in his heart that had felt empty was suddenly, overwhelmingly full. He let Caleb lead him, their steps quickening as they walked back. Caleb held the flowers in one hand and Leo's hand in the other. The hand that Caleb held tingled, the warmth of Caleb's palm a stark contrast to his own cold skin. In a daze, Leo felt as if he were still in a dream from his youth. Caleb led him all the way back to his apartment, not letting go of his hand even in the elevator. It was only when they were at the door that he released him to get his keys. The door opened, and Leo stepped inside. Caleb closed it behind him. I need to hug you, Caleb said, the moment the door clicked shut. I've been holding back. Leo blinked, then immediately took off his backpack and set it on the floor. He looked up at Caleb. Without another word, Caleb wrapped his arms around him, pulling him into a tight embrace. Caleb had been swept up in a storm of emotions, unable to articulate anything. He, who prided himself on being quick-witted and articulate, was often rendered speechless by a few simple words from Leo. Leo, who had come all the way to Chicago, holding his sincere heart in his hands, to tell him, "I can be good to you." Caleb had never felt like this before. His heart both squeezed tight and plunged into warm water after being frozen in ice. It was scalding hot. Leo raised his arms to hug him back. One of Caleb's hands was still holding the flowers. Leo tried to steady his breathing, but it was still ragged and chaotic. "You really know what to say," Caleb murmured, his other hand gently squeezing the back of Leo's neck. He rested his chin near Leo's ear and let out a long breath. "My heart is numb." Leo was numb too, being held by Caleb like this, listening to him talk. He searched his memory and realized he had never even dared to dream of this. He had never hugged anyone like this before. He didn't know what to do, so he just followed his instincts, his hand moving slowly over Caleb's back, gently rubbing the smooth fabric of his coat. He stopped when he realized the movement made a sound. "You said you could be good to me. You have to keep your word," Caleb said, closing his eyes and rubbing the back of Leo's head. "You're going to be the death of me." "I'll keep my word," Leo promised. "I'll definitely be good to you." They stood there for a long time, still in their coats. Leo was starting to sweat when Caleb finally let go. The moment they separated, they both felt a sense of emptiness. So while Caleb put the flowers down, he came back and hugged him again. "I've never really been in a serious relationship, so bear with me," Caleb said with a laugh. Leo nodded. "Me neither. Just tell me what I should do. If I do something wrong, tell me." Caleb couldn't handle Leo's earnestness right now. "As if you could do anything wrong," he said, smiling. "You're a relationship genius." Leo just blinked, and Caleb continued, "It wouldn't have mattered who it was today. No one could have escaped you." Leo didn't feel like he had done anything. Everything still felt unreal. For a newly official couple, the air in the room was thick with affection. Caleb hung up both their coats. Leo squatted by the dog bed, looking at Joker's strange collection of toys. Caleb had thrown them all in there when he was cleaning. "Shouldn't we go get the dog?" Leo asked, looking back at him. "No," Caleb said immediately. "He's too loud." Leo laughed. "But you're back now, you have to go get him eventually. Let him stay there and play." "He has friends," Caleb said. He got a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants for Leo to change into. Leo had been on trains and in cars all day, and he hadn't even dared to sit down since he arrived. Caleb told him to sit on the couch, but Leo just shook his head. He took the clothes and thanked Caleb. "So formal," Caleb said with a raised eyebrow. "Who are you being formal with?" Leo smiled. "Didn't you teach me that? To always thank you." "You're exempt from now on," Caleb said, ruffling his hair and tweaking his ear. "Go change. I'm gonna do the laundry." He went into the bathroom. The clothes in the washing machine had been done for a while. He stayed in there for a few minutes, hanging each piece up, giving Leo time. When he came out, Leo had already changed, his own clothes neatly folded on a chair. Caleb took them to hang on the drying rack on the balcony. "I'll wash your clothes for you," he said. "Don't," Leo said, stopping him. "I didn't bring any other clothes." "You can wear mine," Caleb said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. He picked up Leo's folded clothes. It should have been just a t-shirt and a pair of pants, but there were 3 items. "What's this?" Caleb asked. Leo looked and said it was his long underwear. Caleb burst out laughing. "Okay, we won't wash this then. I don't have a clean pair for you to wear." Leo first said okay, then asked with genuine surprise, "You don't wear long underwear?" "I really don't," Caleb said, smiling. "I think I stopped wearing them after high school." Leo's shock was written all over his face. "Aren't you cold?" "I guess I'm used to it," Caleb said. "On the really cold days, I have a couple pairs of fleece-lined sweatpants." But that's not enough, is it? Leo couldn't understand. He was worried. Don't your legs hurt? Caleb just laughed and pinched his cheek. He went to put the rest of the clothes in the laundry. Leo had always been the type of kid who wore long underwear in the fall and fleece-lined pants in the winter. He didn't really talk to people, and Toby was the same as him, so it had probably never come up. In Leo's world, this was the first time he had heard of someone going through an entire winter in just one layer of pants. He even tried to remember what his roommates wore, but he'd never paid attention. He thought Caleb not wearing long underwear was strange. Caleb thought Leo diligently wearing long underwear was adorable. Caleb had said he wasn't going to get the dog, but after dinner, he and Leo went to get him anyway. The restaurant was close to the pet store, so they walked. "Are you cold, Caleb?" Leo asked. Caleb, bundled in his thick coat, said he wasn't. "What about your legs? Aren't your legs cold?" Leo asked again. Caleb laughed. "I didn't notice until you asked. Now that you mention it, they are a little cold." "And it's not even that cold yet," Leo said, his voice filled with concern. "What are you going to do when it gets really cold?" As a newly minted boyfriend, Caleb was ready to agree to anything Leo said. After a good laugh, he promised, "Fine. From now on, I'll wear them." Joker had been separated from Caleb for a long time. Caleb knew he would be excited, but he wasn't prepared for just how crazy he would be. Before they even walked in the door, the dog started yelping, his barks a mix of ecstatic joy and a clear note of grievance. Caleb warned Leo to prepare himself for an ugly, noisy little dog. Leo was already looking forward to it. The moment Joker was let out of his kennel, he shot towards Caleb like a furry cannonball, yelping and jumping, completely out of control. When Caleb crouched down, Joker put his front paws on his arms and scrambled. "He missed you so much," the pet store owner said, smiling. "He's still a baby." Caleb asked if all puppies were this undignified. The owner laughed and said most of them were, that they were just clingy. Caleb picked Joker up and turned him to face Leo. "Take a good look at the little monster," he said. "He just had a bath, so this is him at his peak attractiveness." Leo smiled and reached out to pet him. Joker turned his head to nuzzle against Caleb, whining. On the way back, Leo held the leash. Caleb just held Leo's hand. When he felt how cold Leo's hand was, he tucked it into his pocket, still holding it. Leo had never been one to care what other people thought, especially when he was with someone he was comfortable with. He didn't mind holding hands with Caleb in public. As long as no one came up to talk to him, he was fine. Back at the apartment, the dog tore around the room, yelping with joy, bringing out all his toys from his bed. "I just wiped the floor," Caleb said to Leo. "And now he's going to get fur everywhere." The boy and the dog he had been chasing were now right in front of him. Leo crouched down to pet the dog, who cooperatively let him for a moment before taking off again. For a couple who had only been together for half a day, they were surprisingly comfortable with each other. It was only when there was sudden physical contact that Leo would feel a jolt of electricity. Like when he was brushing his teeth and Caleb came in to get him a towel, brushing past him and planting a quick kiss on his cheek before walking away. Leo's hand froze for a few seconds before he resumed brushing. When Caleb put the towel down for him and was about to leave, Leo, who had been watching him in the mirror, made him pause. Caleb laughed. "What are you staring at me for? Afraid I'm gonna kiss you again?" Leo's mouth was full of toothpaste, so he couldn't speak. Caleb told him he'd set the hot water for him and that he didn't have to clean up after his shower. He put his clothes on the counter and closed the door behind him. Leo showered, putting on the pajamas Caleb had left for him. The bathroom was warm and steamy. He still hadn't fully processed everything. He was really with Caleb. "Leo?" Caleb called from outside the door. "Are you ever coming out?" He added that he didn't have to clean up, that he was going to shower next. Leo took a deep breath and opened the door. Caleb saw him, flushed and warm from the shower, and told him to go lie down so he wouldn't get cold. Leo nodded without a word. Caleb asked if he should get another blanket. Leo immediately said he didn't think so. Caleb smiled and told him to go ahead. In the shower, Leo had been thinking. He was a person who liked rules. A confession required flowers. A relationship required hugs and kisses. After Caleb's quick peck on the cheek, Leo had been watching him, ready to rinse his mouth and kiss him back if Caleb tried again. He hadn't kissed Caleb yet. Kissing him in bed felt improper. So now he was blocking the bathroom door, not letting Caleb in. He looked at him and asked, "We're in a relationship, right, Caleb? What else would we be? Then, can I kiss you?" Caleb let out a silent laugh, a single, amused hum from his throat. Leo decisively tilted his head up and pressed his lips against Caleb's. He held it there for a few seconds. "Okay, done," he said. After Leo pulled away, Caleb asked, "So, can I kiss you too?" He looked down at him. Leo said yes. A kiss between two guys in their 20s didn't have to be chaste. And with the emotions running so high, there was no holding back. When Leo kissed, he just pressed his lips. When Caleb kissed, it was more than that. And Leo's response was surprisingly uninhibited. He took off his glasses. There was nervousness, but no coyness. When Caleb finally pulled back, Leo's hands were on his waist, his glasses still clutched in one hand. Without them, he couldn't see clearly, but Caleb was close. He studied the outline of Caleb's face, his eyes unfocused but filled with a deep affection. His eyelashes fluttered as his gaze moved from Caleb's eyes to his nose, to his lips, and back to his eyes. In his blurry vision, only Caleb was clear. Looking at him like this, Caleb felt a wave of contentment wash over him. This was the look he had been thinking about for so long. He felt his heart being held in a soft, gentle sway. He brushed his finger over Leo's cheek, his thumb tracing his eyelashes. He laughed softly. "You know, you're really handsome." In high school, Leo had been the most invisible kid in school. He was short, wore glasses, and was always in his school uniform. He was just an average-looking boy. In college, he had grown a little taller, and without the uniform, he looked more relaxed, more open. Now, fresh from a shower, wearing Caleb's pajamas, his eyes soft and adoring, his lips glistening, he had a gentle, warm quality. Caleb suddenly realized that Leo was actually very good-looking. Without his glasses, his eyes were more prominent. He had monolids that formed a neat crease when he looked up. A small bump on the bridge of his nose, usually hidden by his glasses, was now visible. His jawline was a clean, sharp curve down to his slender neck. He had a simple, clean-cut handsomeness. The kind of guy who would be called both hubby and wifey online. No one had ever called Leo handsome before. His one friend who was liberal with praise was blind. So now, being called handsome by Caleb, Leo first smiled, then looked at Caleb's face and said, "You're the handsome one. You're very good-looking. When we go back, I'm taking you to get new glasses," Caleb said. "The ones you have now hide your face too much. You can't hide a face like this from the world." Leo just smiled, thinking Caleb was teasing him. Caleb kissed him again before letting him go lie down. Leo, having completed his first day of relationship duties, contentedly climbed into Caleb's bed. He felt like he was floating. Joker, who had been running around earlier, was already asleep. Caleb was quiet as he got ready for bed, not wanting to wake him. But when he came out of the shower, Joker was awake, waiting for him at the bathroom door. He started following him around again. Caleb picked up his squeaky chicken from the floor and put it on a high shelf, telling him not to play with it at night. Leo was lying on his side, watching the blurry shape of Caleb move around the room. Caleb put away his laptop, then plugged in Leo's phone to charge. He was bent over, plugging in the charger, and Leo just watched him. Caleb glanced at him and smiled. He straightened up, then went to get another charger. Leo remembered and said he had brought his own. Caleb said casually, "From now on, you don't have to bring anything. I have everything here." "From now on" was a phrase that made Leo's heart flutter. He burrowed his chin into the covers and hummed in agreement. Caleb picked up the dog and tossed him on the bed. Joker expertly did a little roll and then came over to nuzzle against Leo's face. Leo brought his arm out from under the covers and happily petted him. Caleb laid out his clothes for the next day, then closed the curtains. While he was tidying up, Leo and Joker played on the bed. Both the boy who didn't have a dog to play with and the dog who didn't have anyone to play with were very happy. "You two just play," Caleb said, making a kissing noise at them. Leo laughed and said Joker was trying to lick him. Caleb told him to make him get lost, that they were supposed to be clean. Leo smoothed down the long fur on Joker's head, revealing his round eyes. Caleb suddenly remembered something and laughed. "Joker's pretty good at reading people. He's all sweet and licky with you. The other day, I ran into a colleague while I was walking him. The guy tried to pet him and he just yelped." Leo couldn't stop laughing. Caleb came over, picked up the dog, and put him on the floor. "Go to sleep. There's no room for you here." On the first night of their new relationship, they were already sleeping in the same bed. It was fast progress, mainly because they were long distance and couldn't go back to their own places. Leo had never spent the night with anyone before, besides his parents. This was a first. But he wasn't nervous, just excited, his heart feeling both tingly and soft. Caleb turned off the light and got into bed. Leo scooted over to make room. Caleb lifted the covers and slid in, then wrapped his arm around him. Leo, who had been lying in the warm bed for a while, was toasty. Caleb could feel the rise and fall of his breathing. He kissed his lips, his chin, his ear. Leo responded in kind. Caleb didn't dare to kiss him more, just held him. Leo didn't move, just quietly held him back. Joker was playing on the floor, making soft thudding noises. Caleb, being held by Leo, let out a long sigh. The only word for what he was feeling was happy. Leo woke up several times during the night. He wasn't used to sleeping with someone else, and the day's emotional roller coaster had left him unsettled. But every time he woke up, he would remember what had happened and hold Caleb a little tighter. Caleb, on the other hand, was sleeping soundly. Twice, when Leo hugged him, he tightened his arm in his sleep. In the morning, Caleb was woken up by his alarm. He immediately turned it off and looked over to see Leo, his eyes open, looking at him drowsily. "Go back to sleep," Caleb said, leaning over to kiss him. Leo wasn't fully awake. He just reached up and touched Caleb's face. Caleb was as quiet as possible as he got ready. Before he left, he fed the dog. Then he went to check on Leo. Leo threw back the covers and stood up to hug him, patting his back. "I'll be back as soon as I'm done," Caleb said. "But I'm not sure what time that will be. It might be late." He told him that if he got bored, he could go out for a walk, that the key was on the table. He'd had breakfast delivered and left at the door. Leo said okay, and told him not to rush back, that he wouldn't go out, he would just wait for him at home. Caleb hummed in agreement and gave him one last tight squeeze before putting him back in bed. He didn't know what other people's relationships were like, but Caleb was completely smitten. All the way to the office, he felt like a bottle of soda that had been shaken up, little bubbles of happiness constantly rising inside him. When he walked into his office, the colleague he had roomed with on the trip asked him why he looked so energetic. "I'm in a relationship," Caleb said smugly. "I knew it," his colleague exclaimed, laughing. "I knew all those phone calls weren't just for nothing." Caleb smiled. "It's a serious relationship." "Stop showing off in front of me," his colleague said sourly. "I'm almost 30 and can't even find a date." Caleb patted his shoulder consolingly. "The best is yet to come, man. Don't worry." "Then why didn't you wait for the best?" his colleague shot back. Caleb just shook his head, smiling. "Couldn't wait. I have him now." His colleague looked like he wanted to kick him. As the office's resident handsome guy, Caleb had been chosen to give the presentation on their trip's findings. He spoke for a whole morning in a huge, tiered conference room in front of everyone from the executives to the interns. He wasn't nervous at all, delivering his presentation with clarity and confidence. The afternoon was for other departments, so he was free, but he couldn't leave. He texted Leo to make sure he ate lunch. Leo replied with an emoji of a bear holding a heart. Leo wasn't bored at home. He wiped the floors again and then wiped down all the surfaces, the tables, the windowsills, the cabinets, the shoe rack. The dog was thrilled to have someone home with him all day. Caleb finally got out of the office at 7. The long day was over. He didn't have to work the next day. Leo was already dressed and waiting for him. He went downstairs just as Caleb was arriving, and they went to dinner together. On this, Leo had his own rules. They had to take turns paying. Caleb trying to pay every time was not acceptable. Caleb saw his insistence and didn't argue, letting Leo pay. After he paid, Leo had a clear look of satisfaction on his face. Caleb put his arm around his shoulders as they walked, and Leo, like a good student, seemed to be diligently learning how to be in a relationship, and he was excelling at it. He was fanning all the flames of love in Caleb's heart. A guy in his 20s is already primed to fall hard, and with someone like Leo, it was inevitable. Just as he had always been able to respond perfectly to anything Caleb said over the phone, no matter when he wanted to talk, the post-relationship Leo was even harder to describe. Every time Caleb hugged him, he would hug him back properly. Every time Caleb kissed him, he would close his eyes and kiss him back even more seriously. All of Caleb's actions and words were met with a response, were properly received. Nothing was ever perfunctory. Every action was carried out with a straight-faced sincerity. And whenever he looked at Caleb, it was with that same look that Caleb held so dear in his heart. Now, he no longer had to hide it. His eyes were always filled with love. Leo had to go back on Sunday night. Caleb went with him to the train station. "I'll come back to see you Friday night," he said. Leo didn't tell him not to, didn't say it was too much trouble. He just nodded and said that if he had to work overtime, he could come the next week. Caleb said he couldn't wait a week. "I'm in my honeymoon phase," he said. Leo nodded in understanding. "Me too. You have to be," Caleb said, looking at him. "You have this straight guy completely wrapped around your finger." "I'm a goner." Leo laughed. "I didn't wrap you around my finger." Caleb couldn't go past the security checkpoint without a ticket. He could only walk him that far. "You're too sincere," Caleb said with a sigh. "Go on." Leo told him to go first, that he wasn't in a hurry, that he would go in after he left. Caleb was silent. He felt like he was the one being sent off. The station was bustling with people. He looked at Leo, then suddenly leaned down and gave him a quick kiss on the lips. Then he put his backpack on for him and gently pushed him through the security gate. As Leo went through, Caleb called out from behind him, "From now on, you'll never have to watch my back as I walk away." Monday morning, Caleb was woken up by his alarm. He turned it off and immediately opened his messaging app to text his pinned contact. A reply came back instantly, an emoji of a bear holding a heart. He was awake. Caleb called him. Leo's voice was a whisper as he asked if Caleb was still in bed. Caleb, his eyes still closed, asked where he was, why he was being so sneaky. After sleeping next to him for 2 nights, Leo was already familiar with Caleb's just-woken-up voice, but it still made his ears burn. He whispered that he was in his dorm, that his roommate was still asleep. He was already dressed and ready to go to class. Joker, hearing Caleb stir, came over and pawed at his bed. Caleb reached down and petted his head, asking Leo if he had slept well. Leo said that he had fallen asleep right after they hung up. Caleb said he hadn't slept well. Leo asked with concern what was wrong. Caleb said reluctantly that he missed holding him. For a moment, Leo was speechless, his ears tingling. He lowered his voice even more and tried to comfort him, telling him it was just a few more days. The honeymoon phase couple spent over an hour on the phone that night. The main problem was the sudden drop-off. After sleeping with Leo for 2 nights, Caleb felt incredibly lonely last night. Leo was doing much better. After so many years of watching from a distance, he was used to it. His mindset was more stable than the newly in love Caleb. That afternoon, in between study sessions at the library, Leo opened a shopping app and bought 2 pairs of long underwear, one thin, one fleece-lined. He also opened another app where he had saved a pair of shoes, the same ones Joker had chewed up. The size he needed was still out of stock. He wanted to ask the seller when they would be back in stock. He was now fully immersed in the joy of buying things for his boyfriend. He opened his banking app and looked at his balance. The number gave him a sense of security. He was glad he had worked so hard the past 2 years. He propped his chin on his hand and thought that he needed to keep working hard to make more money. Caleb, oblivious to the fact that he was now the proud owner of new long underwear, was at the office, being mercilessly teased by his colleagues. The colleague he had shared a room with on the trip had told everyone that Caleb was in a relationship. The colleague who had tried to set him up before was there and flatly denied it was possible. He said that he and Caleb had talked about it, and Caleb had said he wanted to focus on his career for a few years and wasn't interested in dating. Just then, Caleb walked in. The colleague asked him if it was true that he was dating someone. Caleb smiled and nodded. "Damn it!" the colleague exclaimed. "Didn't you say you didn't want to be in a relationship right now? That you didn't have the time or energy?" "You got me," Caleb said, admitting he'd been proven wrong. He took a chocolate from his pocket and put it on his colleague's desk. "What can I say? Love came calling and I had to answer." The colleague just grumbled at him as he unwrapped the chocolate. Caleb went back to his desk. He thought that it was true what they say, you say what you mean at the time. Back then, he really had felt that work was too demanding to start a new relationship. But now he felt like he was on the verge of being completely lovesick. The pattern of their communication didn't change much, but the frequency intensified. A call at night, a call in the morning. Leo, who had once been invisible in his dorm, was now known to be in a relationship. His roommates were shocked. It was hard to imagine the quiet, withdrawn Leo pursuing someone. When Caleb received the long underwear, he laughed for a long time. He washed them that night and wore a pair the next day. It was the kind of thing you scoffed at before you wore it, but once you did, in the dead of winter, you couldn't live without it. Leo, who couldn't speak freely in his dorm, texted Caleb to remind him to wear them. Caleb, on the phone with him, replied that he had them on. Leo typed back that when he came in from the cold, his legs were always freezing for a long time. It was a perfectly normal sentence, but it felt a little intimate. He hesitated, then sent it anyway. Caleb laughed when he read it. Hearing his laughter, Leo fiddled with his headphones. Caleb said, "You're so soft." Leo didn't know how to respond. He scrolled through his emojis and sent one of a bear flopping over playfully. Caleb, picturing his usual serious expression paired with this cute emoji, found it incredibly endearing. On Friday afternoon, Caleb sent Leo the hotel booking information. He was taking the train straight from work and would be arriving late. He told Leo to go ahead and check in and get some sleep. Leo went over after his last exam, but there was no way he could sleep. He knew Caleb hadn't eaten, so he ordered him a sandwich and a hot milk to be delivered just before he arrived. When Caleb knocked on the door, it opened immediately. Leo was standing there in his pajamas, his face breaking into a delighted smile the moment he saw him. Caleb stepped inside, and Leo immediately wrapped his arms around him, patting his back. "I'm cold," Caleb said, kissing his forehead and then stepping back so he wouldn't chill him. "It's okay," Leo said. The moment Caleb took off his coat, he pulled Leo back into his arms. 5 days was a long time for a new couple to be apart. Caleb buried his face in Leo's shoulder, his nose pressed against the warm, smooth skin of his neck. "I've never hated the distance between here and Chicago so much," he said. Leo stroked his hair and said, "You've worked hard." When Leo hugged him, his hand was always moving in a soothing gesture, gently patting his back. Caleb felt a profound sense of comfort. He closed his eyes, inhaling the faint scent of Leo's body wash, and felt his entire being settle. When they kissed, Leo would always take off his glasses, looking at Caleb without any barrier. Caleb lifted him onto the table, and Leo sat there obediently, one hand on the edge of the table, the other around Caleb. Eventually, Caleb couldn't take it anymore and covered his eyes with his hand. Leo closed his eyes under his palm, and Caleb kissed him like that. When they finally broke apart and Caleb removed his hand, Leo opened his eyes, and they were filled with a direct, undisguised affection. A kiss is never just a kiss between a new couple, especially after a separation. And Leo was the type to immediately respond to any of Caleb's advances. Caleb kissed his neck, and he immediately kissed him back. Caleb's hand rested on his waist, and Leo's hand would gently lift the hem of his shirt. Caleb bit his earlobe, and a little later, Leo left a small, red mark on his collarbone. Leo, the lifelong good student, was a fast learner in all things. When Caleb finally drank his milk, it was completely cold. Leo said regretfully that it had been hot when he ordered it. "It's fine," Caleb said. But Leo insisted that it had cost more because it was heated. Caleb just laughed. There's a different kind of intimacy between a couple after they've been physically close. Caleb wouldn't even eat without Leo sitting next to him. Leo had misplaced his glasses, and Caleb liked his eyes, so he didn't bother looking for them. He just sat next to Caleb in a pleasant blur. Caleb's phone buzzed with a string of messages from Julian, who was back in the country. Caleb picked up his phone and replied with "my boyfriend. Do not disturb," then turned on Do Not Disturb for the chat. After he ate, Caleb went to brush his teeth. Leo joined him. They stood in front of the mirror, and Caleb, with his toothbrush in his mouth, asked if Leo could see him clearly. Leo, taking his toothbrush out, said carefully that he couldn't see his eyes clearly, but his heart could. Caleb was hit with another wave of affection. He told him to stop using his powers on him. Leo bent down to rinse his mouth, not understanding what he meant. He added earnestly, "I can see you clearly even with my eyes closed." Caleb squeezed his neck. His hand was wet, and Leo flinched. Caleb didn't say anything. After he rinsed his mouth, he covered Leo's eyes from behind and led him back to the bed. He had been wanting to hold him while he slept for a week, and now he finally could. Leo provided a full sense of security. They weren't just holding each other before bed. Even when Caleb woke up in the middle of the night, Leo's arm would still be draped over him. In the early morning, a notification from a delivery app woke Caleb up. He woke up for a moment and turned to check his phone. Leo, who was behind him, snuggled closer, his stomach pressing against Caleb's back, his face buried in his neck, his arms wrapped around him from behind. His warm breath through his shirt made Caleb so comfortable he didn't want to move. His heart was full. He reached back and touched Leo's hand. The movement woke Leo up. He pulled the blanket up over Caleb's shoulder and whispered, "Are you cold?" Caleb brought his hand to his lips and kissed it. He held him again and said, "Go back to sleep. It's still early." Caleb both wanted to turn around and hold him and loved being held by him like this. The happiness his boyfriend gave him was something he had never experienced in his 20-plus years. He wanted to stretch this moment out indefinitely. After replying to Julian last night and turning on Do Not Disturb, Caleb had completely forgotten about him. Julian, on the other side of the world in Europe, had sent him a barrage of frantic messages. Caleb hadn't replied to a single one. Julian, with a sliver of sense, was afraid of interrupting something important and hadn't called. By the time Caleb remembered to reply, it was already the afternoon. He had to scroll up a long way to see all of Julian's messages. He replied, asking if he was just bored lately. Julian immediately replied, "You finally remember me, you heartbreaker." Caleb asked if he had needed something yesterday. Julian replied that he couldn't just message him for no reason, that he'd gotten a boyfriend and now he was a different person. He immediately called him. Leo, who was in the bathroom, heard the ringtone and peeked out to see if it was his phone. Caleb gestured that it was his, and Leo disappeared back inside. Caleb casually answered the call. "I was busy. What's up?" Julian immediately started his tirade, complaining that he'd been ignored for so long. Caleb said he had forgotten, that he'd been asleep. Julian asked in a teasing voice when he had gotten a boyfriend, and who she was. Caleb laughed at his nosiness. Are you always this annoying? Leo came out of the bathroom, his short hair tousled from being towel-dried. Caleb beckoned him over. Leo leaned forward, a questioning look on his face. Caleb pecked him on the lips and ruffled his damp hair. Julian's loud voice was clearly audible from the phone. What's wrong? Am I not your baby anymore? Caleb immediately told him to talk properly or he would hang up. Julian was heartbroken. After all these years, after all my relationships, have I ever abandoned you? Our relationships are different, Caleb said, looking at the soft, compliant boy in front of him and smiling. You've never been in a real relationship. I've never been in a real relationship? Julian was speechless. Have you lost your mind? Caleb just thought you have no idea. He had come all this way and hadn't even gone home. His family didn't know he was back. If he had gone home, he would have had to stay there. But the new couple didn't want to be apart for a single day. Leo, the social introvert, had surprisingly strong boyfriend energy. The little things he did showed how reliable he was. From the moment he said, "I'll definitely be good to you," he had proven it every single day. Caleb was so spoiled he didn't know which way was up. Leo was just too good. Every day, Caleb felt he loved him more than the day before. At lunch with his colleagues, one of them complained that it was going to be a particularly cold winter. Caleb's apartment was quite warm, but Leo's dorm was a bit cold. Caleb had bought him a thick fleece pajama set before. Now, with the down comforter from the summit, Leo slept every night wearing the pajamas Caleb bought him, under the comforter Caleb won for him, and felt incredibly happy. His current life was something he had never dared to dream of in all the years before. But now it was all real. Caleb also bought him snow boots and a thick down jacket because Leo had to walk a lot outside for his classes. The jacket was even brought back by Julian on his flight. When Caleb went to pick him up from the airport, Julian threw himself at him. "Caleb, I missed you so much," he exclaimed. "Get off me," Caleb said, laughing. At his apartment, Julian took off the jacket and threw it on the bed. The tag was still on. "I was suffocating in this," he said. "So thick. It makes you look like a bear." Caleb then realized that Julian had worn the jacket he was supposed to bring back for Leo the whole way. He picked it up and put it in a large paper bag. "Give me $100 for the dry cleaning." "It's not yours?" Julian asked, confused. "Who did you buy it for?" "It's not for me," Caleb said, tearing off the tag. "Besides, you wore it on the plane." "I took it off on the plane," Julian protested. "I bought it for you, brought it back for you, saved you the shipping, and now you want me to pay for the dry cleaning?" Caleb just told him to transfer the money via Venmo. He put the jacket by the door to take to the cleaners later. A few minutes later, Julian suddenly sat up, a string of curses under his breath. He stared at Caleb. "Caleb, your boyfriend. He's not a guy, is he?" Caleb just shrugged. Julian was stunned. "Bro, you're gay?" When Caleb didn't deny it, he was even more confused. "Why? You were straight before. What happened?" "There's no why," Caleb said with a smile. "Can only be because of love." "Are you serious?" Julian's expression turned serious. "Are you really into him? Or are you just messing around?" "I'm not messing around," Caleb said. This news truly shocked Julian. After all, they had known each other for so many years, and he had never had any inkling that Caleb wasn't straight.